What's going on, guys? My name is Aldenero and welcome to episode 58 of my Leicester City career mode. As we start off our campaign for season 4, we finally get our way into the season. We go into our first competitive match of the season, which is in the league against Cardiff City. And as you can see from just that little screenshot I showed, I have gone with some kind of a custom tactic for this game, and we're using that false 9-4-3-3 formation just because, even though it didn't really work too well in the friendly against Hanover in the last episode, it's something that I do want to access a little bit more of in this game, is the whole custom formation and custom tactic thing, and the way to do that is just purely by experimentation and working your way through it. So after 25 minutes, when Gavranovic hit the post for Cardiff City, I was a little bit worried that maybe this tactic wasn't the way to go, but in the 40th minute, Gavranovic put the ball into the box, and the ball comes to Ekrem at the far post, who ends up scoring, and it was pretty hectic in the box. Like, I was really annoyed to go down that early, but we weren't really holding possession well in the game at all, and it was something that was really apparent about the way that we're playing. I have a question for you guys at the start of this episode, though. It's not really a question, it's like kind of a weird thing. I was looking at Borussia Dortmund and their game against Borussia Mönchengladbach yesterday, and it was Dortmund's like first win in like 5 games, I think, if not even more than that. I think they'd lost 4 in a row before that, and they're just having a terrible start to the season. And like, a lot of people were sort of under the impression when they were talking to me that Celtic had a terrible start to the season, and we're in November now, and I'm just wondering, how has your club that you support started your season? Because as a Celtic fan, like, we did have a fairly slow start, some terrible luck in the Champions League after some brilliant luck in the Champions League, if you know what I mean, but then Celtic made it into the Europa League, and from then, like, Celtic are now top of the Scottish Premiership, and it's all looking pretty good. So I don't know, tell me how your team has started the season. But as you see here in the 56th minute, a legend is born as Valère Bresson comes on for his official debut. He's a 16-year-old right midfielder who is going to be an incredible player. And in the 69th minute, the ball comes to Tom Ince, who just rolls the ball into Lewis Muriel, who ends up burying it in the net, and it puts us 2-1 in front, having come from 1-0 behind. So I was really happy with that outcome of the game, because this was a difficult game. You can tell by the lack of highlights in this game that not a lot really happened. It was a kind of an industrious performance from both sides. It was a very cagey game. It was one where neither side really wanted to start the season with a defeat, and as a result, neither side was committing too much going forward. But in the 75th minute, Daly plays the ball into Diedon, who ends up scoring into the back of the net with a really good finish as well, with the finesse shot. And that was tough to take, because Cardiff had no real chances before that in the second half. But in the 82nd minute, Bryson gets into the box. His cross finds nobody. Watson runs to the ball, and for some bizarre reason, Tom Ince didn't run towards the ball in the box with an opportunity to score, and Leite's volley was obviously useless. It was saved by the goalkeeper, but we end that game with a 2-2 draw, and we come out to find that Aston Villa have said that our bid for Delph is unacceptable, and this is just getting ridiculous. This Fabian Delph, this whole entire saga is something that I really want to put to bed ASAP. So I bid 9.2 million for him. I have to negotiate these things, you know. Gary Gardner is going to miss 5 days, but he'll still be able to play in our next game, and I still haven't made a bid about Lestienne. And then I went in and I made a bid for Gylfi Sigurdsson, because I had it in my head that I was gonna play a formation that required a cam, and I don't know why. I wanted one of those technically gifted central attacking midfielders. But we also find that Gillingham have made a loan offer for Hector Bellerin, who I'll be happy to send out on loan. I think I made a mistake in signing him, in all honesty. But also that Hertha Berlin have made an offer for Lewis Muriel of £7 million, and I said, if you give me 12, we'll talk, we'll do business, because I would be interested in increasing our financial situation if we could make it any way better than what it is now. And I also came up with a brilliant idea to try and sign Thorgan Hazard for the club. I don't actually know what his potential is. He's obviously not as good as Eden Hazard, but I offered 7 million plus Rohan Ince. Poor Rohan Ince is just the bait. He's just a guinea pig in every single bid that I go into. I also made a bid for this guy, Andrea Almici, a centre-back from Fiorentina, and Swansea rejected our first bid for Gylfi Sigurdsson, so I upped it to 7.2 million and put in another bid. Then we find that Hertha Berlin are actually willing to negotiate negotiate a little bit on the Muriel front. So they offered, I think it was 9.5 million second time around, and I said, if you give me 11.5, then we'll really talk, because that's only 500k under what I actually want. And then Aston Villa messaged me and told me in no uncertain terms to go and fuck myself, and that the Delph bid was completely off the table now and it was never going to happen. So that was that. I had to concede that. I had to understand that it was never going to happen. I bid 11 million for Hazard, and I upped my bid for Sigurdsson to 8 million pounds. And then we go into our next game of the episode, which is going to take place at Goodison Park, away from home, obviously, against a team who I managed in FIFA 14 and brought some success to. It's Everton, who are playing Luke Garba as a sort of a left winger, which I think is really weird because he doesn't actually look that good at all in the game. We've gone with a 4-5-1 kind of a formation with 2 CDMs, and the midfielders sitting deep, not playing as such as wingers but more as midfielders. So it's kind of a strange formation to go with, I suppose. We did get the first chance of the game though, as Lewis Muriel's deflected shot was almost headed into the net by Koyate, but it wasn't to be. And in the 25th minute, Lukaku and Barkley combined really well to send the big man in on goal, but thankfully for us, he puts it wide of the target, and if he did that for me, he would be being sold. Like, that's what would happen. Then in the 32nd minute, Lukaku has a look up, his shot goes well wide again. He's just not really capable of finishing on his right foot. And then Barkley sets up a move into Luke Garba, who plays it back into Barkley, who passes it to McCarthy. They play a nice 1-2, and Everton take the lead in the 35th minute, which was incredibly disappointing because it was a really good pass and move, and I hate those, which is why when Barkley looked really upset at the linesman having his flag up, I was really happy to see that the game was still actually 0-0. That one really got me. Like, I'm used to it most of the time now, but that one really had me. Like, I really thought that was a goal. But in the 42nd minute, Lewis Muriel almost gave us the lead. Thankfully for Everton, I suppose, the goalkeeper did manage to save it, but we launched a counter-attack inside stoppage time at the end of the first half, and Lewis Muriel is about to do some really nice footwork here. He does a step over to get round Laporte, then he tries that weird turny thing, and then he gets in towards the box, does the Ronaldo chop, finally gets round the French defender and buries his shot into the back of the net to put Leicester City 1-0 up inside stoppage time at the end of the first half. And I thought that was a great goal because it involved a skill move that I accidentally did that I've never done before and probably will never do again. Then we come up to the hour mark with Wilfried Zaha on the ball, as trying to replicate that skill move that I did. It's so ridiculous that I know it's so easy, and I pretty much know how to do it. Like, I can do pretty much most skill moves in the arena, but I just can't ever do them on the pitch. Like, my hands just can't do it, you know. But in the 62nd minute, Zaha made it 2-0 with a really powerful strike that got the goalkeeper. It went in off the keeper's gloves. And then we come up to the 67th minute. We're taking a really nice lead in this game as well, and Muriel gets into the box. He does really well, almost manages to get his second goal of the game, but doesn't do so, and he came off immediately after that. I brought on some substitutes. Ki Sung-yong on the ball in the 78th minute plays the ball through to one of those substitutes, Dwight Gale, who gets into a really good position around Laporte with the nice turn as well. Goes for a left-footed finesse shot, which wasn't as powerful as his right foot, and the ball comes out to Valère Bresson, who had come on as a substitute, and he plays the ball across the pitch to Julian Brandt, who goes so close to making it 3, but his shot hits off the post, unfortunately enough for us. Then Everton came forward a few minutes later with Kevin Morales on the ball. He was a second half substitute for them, and he was very effective in the game. I don't know why they didn't start with him and McGeady instead of Garba, but Lukaku puts the ball in the back of the net, and again our buddy with the Leicester City linesman flag waves to show that Lukaku was in fact offside. That one I actually knew was offside, but in the 88th minute, a pretty terrible goal kick from Kasper Schmeichel surrenders possession as Kevin Morales' ball looks for Barkley. It doesn't get him, but the rebound comes to Morales, and he had no problem dispatching that volley powerfully into the back of the net to pull a goal back for the hosts, and then they run back to the halfway line, which is fair enough, although they did forget to bring the ball with them. But I was a little worried from here because McGeady came forward in the 90th minute, and Koyate's attempted clearance was initially botched, but he eventually got it away to Ki Sung-yong, who sent it straight down towards Dwight Gale, and Laporte is the only man back for Everton. Dwight Gale gets into a great position. He stops and chips it into Scott Sinclair, his fellow second half substitute, who finesses it into the corner of the net to maintain our 2-goal advantage in this game, and we take a 3-1 victory from Goodison Park. It's the first time I've taken a victory from this ground in this series as far as I'm aware, and that's a great away victory early on in the season. We come out of that game to find that Hertha Berlin have actually agreed to the asking price for Lewis Muriel, and it was only at this point I realised that that's actually a bad move for us because we're really going to need him. for the rest of the season. I want to go and win the league. I shouldn't be selling big players like that, and it was a stupid thing for me to do. But I tried to go back in for Thorgan Hazard, and I'd sort of just... I don't know if you guys understand this, but when you're playing the game and you decide that you want to play a certain way, I had just figured that I would play all of my play through a certain central attacking midfielder. It could be Sigurdsson, it could be Thorgan Hazard, it could be whoever else I sign. But we offered a contract to Sigurdsson, and then we get hit with a bombshell at the end of this episode as we find that Wilfried Zaha wants to leave the club. And I don't know why, I don't know where this has come from. He hasn't hinted to being unhappy. He didn't want another contract, anything like that. He was totally fine with getting first team football all of the time. But he just wants to be at a bigger club, I guess. And we have to abide by that because the board have actually told me that they're going to sell him. So that's something we're going to have to deal with in the next episode. But I think you guys are really going to like the next episode, and that's all I'll say about that. If you enjoyed this episode, please do leave a like rating though. That would be absolutely awesome. I have been Elden Hero, and thanks for watching.